Welcome to Close Up Radio, where our hosts, Doug Llewellyn and Jim Masters, bring you the amazing stories of people who answered the call to unlock their potential and taken control of their own success with authenticity, creativity, persistence, and resilience. Close Up Radio special guests share their knowledge and wisdom so you, the listener, can live the most empowered life possible. Close Up Radio. And now, here's today's host, Doug Llewellyn.
Well, hello, everybody. We welcome you back to Close Up Talk Radio. Nice to have you with us today, indeed. I think you're going to love this show. I love doing these conversations because we talk to so many different people from different kinds of different things in their life, different backgrounds, and their different professions. Today, we're going to be talking to some lawyers, fascinating lawyers, though. This is going to be a great story. Our guests are Jasmine Rippy and Ameena Sheikh, and they are founders of the Rippy Sheikh Law Firm, which is a boutique Detroit law firm specializing in criminal defense, family law, probate, and estate planning. And as they put it, they're dedicated to providing the highest level of legal services possible to their clients. What's really unique is they are known in Detroit as the Ladies in Law, and that's their website. It's great, theladiesinlaw.com, if you want information on how to contact these ladies. Their story is really amazing, and what they're doing, and they have a great friendship, which got them to form this law firm, and I think they're having a remarkable, wonderful time doing what they're doing today. It's always interesting to hear stories about how law firms or other companies start, so we're going to talk to these ladies and find out their stories and then find out how they help people and why they get such enjoyment out of what they're doing today. So without further ado, and a lot about, stories about them, we're going to let them tell us ourselves, okay? So I'd like to welcome them to the microphone. Now, they're both in the same room. They're right by the telephone. So I'd like to introduce Ameena Sheikh and Jasmine Rippy. Ameena, say hi to us. How are you today?
Hi, everyone. We're so happy to be here.
And Jasmine, tell me a little bit about Detroit. What's it like in Detroit this morning? Actually, it's this afternoon. What's it like today?
Hi, Doug. It's cold as usual. Just another winter day in Detroit. There's some snow on the ground. Not too much, so the roads aren't too bad, but we could definitely use some heat up here.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get some heat from this broadcast. How about that? That'll warm you up talking to it. I just love your story because I know you two guys are, you're good buddies and you have this law firm going, and it must be happy for you right now. But in the beginning in your law career, I know it really wasn't that way. You were kind of restrained in what you were doing. But let's step back a little bit and give me a chance to hear from each one of you about, number one, how you got into the field of law, a little bit about your background, your education, and then we'll bring you up to date on how you formed this law firm, the Ladies in Law. First off, we'll talk to you, Ameena. Tell me a little bit about your background and what made you decide you wanted to be a lawyer. Why were you interested in the field of law to begin with? Any idea on that? I'm sure you have.
Well, actually, and it'll be interesting for everyone to hear how different Jasmine and my stories are leading up to becoming lawyers, even though we're together in it now. But initially I was a competitive ice skater, so I enjoyed that competitive and performance aspect. But while I was skating, I was having to sign contracts and with rinks and performances, and I didn't know what was going on. And I didn't like that at all. I felt kind of a lack of control and understanding. And my parents always said, knowledge is power. So once I was retired from competitive skating, my entire family, they're all in the medical field. So I knew I didn't want to do that, but I definitely wanted to be in a field where I had that knowledge and had that power and I could help others with it. So the legal practice seemed to be the right direction for me. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I just knew that was the field I wanted to be in.
Well, it's interesting, your story. You were raised in Kentucky, and you ended up in Detroit, but really brought there by your skating career primarily, right? Isn't that what got you there?
That is, yes. I born and raised in Lexington, Kentucky, where there is literally one ice rink down the street from where I grew up. So it happened to work out that I ended up skating because of the Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan scandal that was going on at the time, and my parents for some odd reason, thought that would be a good idea to put me in skating and my siblings as well, and took quite a liking to it. Neither of my parents are athletes. My father is a Pakistani. He didn't know skating, but he loved it, loved watching it. So we got into that, and then at some point, I just outgrew the training capacity that skating had in Kentucky. So I had to go to a skating hub, and Detroit is definitely one of those. It's where Tara Lipinski's from, Todd Eldridge. And so myself and my siblings got sent up here to train.
Well, that's very interesting indeed. I find it kind of fascinating. I know you went to Oakland University on an academic scholarship, obviously. You're obviously a very bright young lady. But you ended up doing a thesis project that took you to Morocco, where you studied Arabic. Talk to me a little bit about that. That must have been fascinating. Was that after you had gotten your undergraduate degree?
So actually, I just mentioned my father's Pakistani, and so coming from a diverse background, I was very curious about identities. And when I had the opportunity in undergrad to have a thesis project, really on whatever I felt I wanted to do, I thought, let me take a personal approach on this. And I was just finishing up retiring from skating, and it was also at the same time that I was going to be graduating from undergrad, but I wanted to do it before I graduated so that I could get some scholarships to help pay for me to go overseas. And it just worked out that I also was very interested in learning another language. So if I could do my thesis overseas, I could also learn another language. And Morocco just fit the bill for both of those aspects I was seeking. And it was fascinating. It was a very personal study that brought light to me on a lot of identity questions I had, being that of a mixed background.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating. And then I'll just freshen it up. You came back to Detroit. You went to the Wayne State University Law School, where you got your law degree. There's so many questions I could ask, but I don't want to eat the whole half hour up on talking about your backgrounds. Let me turn to Jasmine for a moment. Jasmine, your background is pretty fascinating too. You ended up at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. What possessed you, number one, how did you end up going to Chapel Hill to college? Because you're from Cleveland.
That is correct, Doug. I am from Cleveland, born and raised there. However, my grandparents, so my dad's parents, are from Salisbury, North Carolina. I know, Doug, you said you're in Western North Carolina, so you may know where Salisbury is, about 40 miles north of Charlotte. Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's where my family roots are. I would go down there every summer. My father is a huge Tar Heel fan. I remember he used to be dressed from head to toe in Carolina gear. So, I just took a liking to the teams that my dad liked. So I grew up liking the Tar Heels. And then when I went to do my college visits and stepped foot on Chapel Hill, I fell in love. The campus was beautiful. The people were really down to earth. They had great sports teams, great academics, and the weather was much better than Cleveland. So, I told my dad, I said, I got to be here. I have to go here. So, yeah, that's how I ended up in Chapel Hill.
Good for you. Great school it is. Let me just point out, then you went back to Ohio to go to law school. What was it that made you want to go to law school? Were your parents involved in the law or not?
Yeah, so my father is an attorney. He actually just retired in December at the end of the year. He was a bankruptcy attorney. He worked for the U.S. government, the Department of Justice, Office of the Trustee. And I had grown up watching my dad in suits and reading all these stacks of papers, reading briefs, writing motions, and I just thought that, it looked cool. I liked the way he dressed. He seemed to really enjoy his job. I originally wanted to be a doctor, unlike Ameena. And then when I got to Chapel Hill, I realized, I don't like math and science anymore. So I really didn't know what else to do. And I just I'll be a lawyer because my dad's a lawyer. So that's what led me to law school.
Well, obviously you did very, very well. You graduated magna cum laude from law school, and, good for you. Obviously, you both are very smart young ladies. But then you went to work in major law firms, both of you. Tell me about your experiences there, and you can bounce off each other if you want, but what I want to learn about is you were together in law, working in law firms. and then you weren't really satisfied with it, and you got together and decided to form your own law firm. Tell us a little bit about how all that happened. Why don't you start, Ameena? Tell me that story.
So it is a little bit of a funny story because neither of us are originally from Detroit, ended up here. We were, both of our first jobs out of law school are at an amazing corporate law firm in the heart of Detroit, a firm that everybody really wanted to go to in law school. And we got there and it was great, but we didn't fit into that corporate law firm mold. We are very creative individuals. So although we had the brains, the work ethic, everything, the formula to do very well at that firm, we kind of were the oddballs. We didn't fit in. And then we happened to get to meet each other. We had a pro bono case together and realized, wow, we really work well together. And we had a great time doing it, too, which was very unique in the legal practice. I think many attorneys would feel that way. That's how we kind of met, and we wanted to then create our own situation. I ended up leaving the law firm and moving to California, got my California bar out there and worked for a little bit. Jasmine stayed at the firm for how much longer, Jasmine, were you there?
About a year and a half after you left.
Yeah, about a year and a half, but we stayed very good friends, and we knew that there was more steps we wanted to take. And one day I said, hey, I don't know, maybe I'll come back to Michigan. She's like, hey, team up with me. And at this point, Jasmine had already left the firm and started her own thing, was doing her own thing. And I don't know, it just seemed to click for us that it would work.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So Doug, the firm where we were working, we learned a lot. You know, we really thought that it was a good place to launch our career, but we ultimately felt that we wanted to do something that was more tailored to our personalities. We wanted to create our own firm, our own culture, do something that was very unique and really create a name for ourselves.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking about this. This whole story of yours sounds like the basis for a television series. Even the name of your law firm, the Ladies in Law. That sounds like a TV series.
Jasmine came up with the Ladies in Law.
We wanted a name
really?
that was very catchy.
Yes.
It's great.
And easy to remember.
I got to tell you, it is great. Well, anyway, I mean, a lot of people may wonder why Detroit. I mean, of all the cities you could be, and where were you when you went to Southern California? When you went to California, where were you in California, Ameena?
So I was in Los Angeles, and I worked in Beverly Hills, and that's where I got introduced to family and criminal law, yes. And I really loved it. I worked for a boutique firm out there, so I firsthand saw someone running their own firm, building it up, and I realized, but I'm not running the firm still. So, but I could see the aspects that I enjoyed, and Jasmine had already gone out and was doing her own thing, and she really enjoyed it. So I think that's where a lot of, okay, yeah, that's the direction we need to go. But Detroit, Jasmine, why don't you say why Detroit?
Oh, Doug, Detroit is a great place for people to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can get rent for very cheap. It has a big city feel, but also small at the same time. It's easy to get connected. I know for me, starting out on my firm as a solo practitioner, I had met a ton of attorneys while I was working at the large firm who were doing their own thing. And, you know, they were telling me about it. And, you know, when I decided to leave, I thought that it was something that I would be able to do, given the fact that there were so many other young people in Detroit who were starting their own firms and doing their own things and really crushing it.
Well, you know, it's an amazing story. Obviously, Detroit works for you, and having been in Southern California, probably one of those tall towers in Century City, I mean, you know, they don't have snow in Southern California.
83 Wilshire. That was mine.
There you go. All right. Well, let's talk about your law firm and what makes your law firm different. How would you describe, either one of you can talk to me about it, how would you describe your law firm? What's different from you guys than other normal law firms, other than the fact that you're both ladies?
Well, our office, starting out, our office, Doug, is in an industrial building. It used to be an automotive plant. It's over 100 years old. There's musicians, photographers, glass blowers, graphic designers. So we're in a very unique office setting is very bright, it's very colorful, very cheerful, something that you would think of when you go to a tech company or something. It doesn't look like a traditional office setting.
Right, and I think for us also, we are very personable. We enjoy the creative aspects in life. I was a skater. Jasmine is an artist herself. And so for us, when we deal with our clients, it's a more holistic approach in a way. We're not looking at it like, okay, syllables, this is the way we go about it. It's like, no, we really take each case truly and each client as their own situation and approach it in a customized way for them. And that's how we approach the overall law practice. We don't want every day to be exactly the same. That for us is too rigid and it's suffocating. So it's overall how we approach the practice of law, how we approach it with our clients. And as Jasmine said, where our office is located is a prime example of how we're doing that and how we're incorporating our creative aspects of our personalities into the practice of law.
Well, you know, your website says you're not the typical average lawyers, that you're really unique. I also find it interesting that the various things you specialize in. Criminal defense is one of them. Obviously, you do traffic and license things, family law, estate planning, and probate. Let's explore some of these various areas. And let me just ask you, if someone comes in, do you have individual clients, or do they get you as a team, or is it either? How do you answer that?
So we kind of divvy up the work. I do more of the criminal and probate work. Ameena does more of the family work. We both do estate planning. So it depends on what the person comes to us for, but there's some cases where we work together on. It just really depends on the situation. Sometimes you only need one person. Other times there may be more issues at play where we have to tag team in.
Right, we also, not just between ourselves, but we reach out to our colleagues on cases that are very specialized, and we say, hey, we'd like you to join in with us and work with us on this client or this matter because you are specialized, and we're not trying to be jack of all trades, master of none. We're trying to be great at what we do, and we also do quite a bit of small business startup type of work. We were trained in corporate matters originally from the corporate law firm we started at. I was doing corporate litigation. Jasmine was doing banking and M&A work. So that's what we're trained in. We do like doing family and criminal because we get into the court more often, which is now Zoom court. But yeah, it just depends on the situation and what the client needs and what the matter is.
Well, let's talk a little bit about family law because there's a lot involved in that. Ameena, you focus more on family law than Jasmine does, I guess. What kind of areas do you deal with when it comes to family law? Expand on that just a little bit.
So I think when people think of family law, their mind right away goes to divorce. And that's right. Definitely a huge aspect of family law. But beyond that, we've got custody, child support, which can all be part of divorce. You just have different agreements, prenuptial, postnuptial. There's all sorts of levels. So really, when somebody's thinking about family law, I like to say it's kind of like thinking about going to your family doctor. I don't really know what's going on with this situation. I know for sure it's not a contract I need for an employee or something like that, but it's involving my family. There's some issues going on. It's usually not the most positive situation. Family law does get a little bit of a bad rep because of that. But what I personally enjoy about family law is you're truly a counselor. You need to counsel your clients because it is their personal life that you are making a massive impact on.
Well, it's such an important area of law, no question about that. Do you testify in court a lot? Do you, family law, you normally don't consider that going into courtrooms, but I guess in many instances you have to. Do you enjoy that aspect of it?
Going into court?
Yes.
Yes. I love going into court. Of course, with COVID, it's changed to Zoom, which in many ways I love as well. But being a skater, having been on Team USA, I love performance. And for me, once skating was done, I felt this void in that, and I just couldn't replicate it. Then I went to law school, and there were oral arguments, and then I started to feel it from there. And court gives that to me as well. It can be stressful when you're trying to run to 10 different courts in 1 week, but that is also an adrenaline rush. So, yes, you do actually with family law go to court more than – the less you go to family law court, the better that case is going, but typically you end up in court quite a bit.
You just mentioned something. I'm going to get to you in just a minute, Jasmine. Let me follow up on one thing. You connected your courtroom performance to your experience as a skater. How does that connect? What do you get from your experience as a skater that you can utilize to help you in court?
Well, overall, skating taught me perseverance, time management, and just being under pressure and knowing how to handle that. And that's the biggest thing with court, because you never know truly what's going to happen. You cannot go into court assuming what the result is, what the procedure is going to be. You don't know what mood the judge may be in, your client may be in, opposing. There's so many factors. So being able to think quickly under pressure and handle it in a composed manner is the biggest aspect I have been able to transfer from skating into my practice within the courts.
Wow, that's a great answer. Really good answer. Jasmine, let's talk about you. You are a criminal defense lawyer. You get heavily involved in that. Let's talk a little bit about that aspect of the law that you're involved in. You obviously spend a good bit of time in a courtroom. Would that be right?
Oh, yeah, definitely, Doug. The one thing I do like about criminal law is that I really feel that you're upholding the Constitution and the rule of law. So a lot of what, as a defense attorney, I do is try to make sure that the police did the right thing, that the prosecutor is doing the right thing, that there's enough evidence to convict someone or to even bring this person to court. Whether or not they're guilty or not, we all have certain due process and constitutional rights that needs to be abided by.
And Doug, I want to say something. I have to prop Jasmine up. She, coming out of law school, wanted nothing to do with the court. She was very, I don't want to have to stand in court. I want to just draft contracts, which she is the queen at drafting contracts. Let me make that clear. And then when we did our pro bono case together, at our first law firm we worked together, that was her first time having to do it, and she crushed it and realized that she actually enjoyed it.
At first I was scared to go to court, to be honest with you. I didn't like to be in the spotlight at the time, and it was very unpredictable. It was just different than what I was used to dealing with. But it was actually fun. I enjoyed being on the spot. I enjoyed just being in the courtroom, talking to the judge and making my arguments. And then once, I won, it was just the greatest feeling ever. So I do really enjoy that. Now, criminal law also can be stressful, especially when you're dealing with very serious crimes, very serious felonies where people are facing a lot of time that could really impact their families and their lives moving forward. But, I just try to do the best that I can do to help that person in that situation.
She's
wanted to
phenomenal
mention
for it.
the normal folks, who don't hang around in courtrooms, who are not lawyers, the most common thought or impression they have of being in a courtroom is what they see on television. Suppose I just ask you, how realistic is what you see on television to what it really is like for you as a lawyer in court? How would you answer that?
I would say for Law and Order, when at the end where they show the trial with the prosecutor and the defendant, that is a very realistic picture of the trial. Now, Judge Judy, on the other hand, no, that's not. I think a lot, some of the things that they say in there, I'm like, they would not say that in a real courtroom. I think a lot of that is played up for the entertainment value. But in a real courtroom, everything is very, there's procedures. Everything is very orderly. You address the judge, Your Honor. You only speak when you're called upon. So it's very, I would say, restricted, regulated.
And if that's not happening, then usually someone's getting thrown into the jury box.
Interesting. You know, you mentioned Judge Judy. I'm very familiar with Judy, and of course, I've been involved in the People's Court for like 18 years. It is a little different in small claims court than in regular court, higher court. No question about that. But anyway,
right.
So obviously you like it now. You've realized you can do it and you're good at it, so you're not intimidated by going into court anymore. Would that be right, Jasmine?
That is absolutely correct, and the most fun thing is winning.
Yes.
Of course.
It's just like this high that you get, they call it a litigation high, but, it's just like, it's like winning a game or,
winning
a competition, and you just feel so great, and you just have this really big adrenaline rush coming off of it.
Yeah.
Boy, that sounds so true. How important is your friendship to the two of you for the success of this law firm? It would seem to me it's critical. Am I right?
Yes, it certainly is. Ameena and I have been friends for about 5 or 6 years now, and we knew each other before we worked on the case together at the firm, but that really brought us closer together and really, I would say, cemented our friendship. But Doug, we have very similar goals, values, morals. I mean, we understand each other. But there's certain things that we can understand without even having to say any words. So it just makes everything easier running a business with someone who's on the same page as you that you don't have to fight with.
I won't ever forget, we had been practicing law together as the Rippy plus Sheikh law firm, and we were sitting across from each other, and we realized, we want more than even this. And we didn't even have to say it to each other. We just sat across from one another, and that's when the brand Ladies in Law emerged. And it was like, we just knew it because, like Jasmine said, we have that same mindset and values and what we want to gain from our professional and personal life. So that was it.
And another thing I'll touch on, Doug, is that we can work together all day. It's business, but we know how to turn it off. We can separate the business from the personal. So we can work all day in the office and then go out to dinner and not even talk about work. We always have lots to talk about.
I wanted to ask you, Ameena, a quick question. I know you spent time in Morocco. You studied the Arabic language when you were there and society. Do you have an opportunity to ever make use of your studies of Arabic language in the law in Detroit? How about that?
So when I was in California, there's quite a bit. But here, there's a large Arab population. The biggest Arab population is in Dearborn, which is close to Detroit City. It was culturally, we've had some clients that I've known how to, because I've lived in their culture, I come from their culture, I understood what they were trying to say, even though they weren't really saying it, and it made them feel more comfortable. So the cultural aspect more than language, above all, seems to be something we benefit from, which a big thing Jasmine and I are trying to do with Ladies in Law is to make the law more accessible and understandable. We're trying to demystify the law. And knowing how to handle different cultures and approach people has definitely helped in that.
Well, I think you are rare. Do you, off the top of your head, are you kind of rare being, two ladies in a law firm, or there are a lot of ladies like this around the country? How would you answer that? We only have a couple of minutes.
I would say that it's rare, especially two ladies who are different ethnicities, come from different backgrounds. So that's what makes us so unique. We have not seen two ladies of different backgrounds run a law firm together.
And then on top of it, we do YouTube videos to educate people on it, which is just not common for the legal practice, because we truly want to build that up and help people understand law and be less intimidated by it, which I don't think many lawyers, they like it being intimidating.
Yeah, it's a way to keep a line in their pockets if people don't know. But we on the other hand, look at it on the flip side and say, we're giving you this information so okay, I need to get a lawyer. I need to do this. I need to create this will. I need, so
just like this.
So I don't think
ladies, I have to interrupt you, ladies, because we're running out of time. Our guests have been Ameena Sheikh and Jasmine Rippy of the Sheikh Rippy Law Firm. Really, they are the Ladies in Law, and they're in Detroit, and they have this great website. You got to go look it up if you're interested in learning more about them, theladiesinlaw.com. Lady, thanks for being with us. It's been great having you as a guest. Good luck to you. Thank you so much. Okay?
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you so much, Doug.
Take care. I'm Doug Llewellyn. See you next time.